lot of violence. Hate. That stink. I've never felt a darkness like that. This is a bag of dicks. It ain't over till it's over.
Devin,
Yes.
what are we talking about?
I don't know. Worms.
What kind of worms?
The ones in your belly.
Tapeworms?
Tapeworms.
Are we seriously talking about tapeworms?
We can. I don't know anything about tapeworms.
I don't want to spend 2 hours talking about tapeworms. It's fucking disgusting.
But we are talking about worms today, Wade. Kind of. We're talking about prehistoric worms, aka the Tremors franchise.
Oh,
That's
shit.
right. We finally finished
Finally
all
finished
7
this
movies. Yes.
for like a
For
year.
people who don't know, there are 7 movies in the Tremors
And a TV
franchise,
series that we're
which
not going to be talking
we
about.
didn't watch. I've heard that it's just okay.
But we're just
So,
talking about the
The
theatrical films and the straight to video sequels.
I think
just the
the
movies.
only one that was theatrical was the first one.
You serious?
Maybe the second one. Maybe the second one wasn't. Maybe the second one wasn't theatrical. But I know
Shit.
I know 3 through 7 were all DVD releases.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Tremors. The
Tremors.
OG Tremors. This is going to be the one that we just praised because this is the only one I think me and Wade both really like.
It was
So
fucking awesome.
Wade, as a person who knows a lot about practical effects and stuff, I know that you were blown away by some of the effects in this movie for the time period that it was made.
There's
You wanna
some
go-
really impressive practical effects, and it's not even just the practical effects. This movie does a flawless job of weaving in like miniatures and like forced perspective and big animatronic worms into the real world and making it all cohesive and mesh. Like the scene where the graboid like crashes through the wall in Burt
That's-
Gummer's like rec room.
That's an iconic scene.
That goes
But-
back and forth between like an actual giant like animatronic that they just bust through the wall. That goes back and forth between that and then a miniature where it's like flailing up and down and like hitting the wall and stuff.
I didn't even know that.
That's a
It's
miniature.
seamless. It's
And then there's a couple shots in that where there's one shot. It's like one seamless shot. It's like Bert drops a gun on the ground and then it pans up to like the graboid just like flailing around doing its thing. That is a regular 2 miniature shot, but it was all done in like one continuous motion, and it's like it's flawless.
I remember when we first watched this, you were sitting there like, how did they do some of this? Because like
Yeah,
some of
there's
it
really
was
impressive stuff.
a lot of it was like, how did they do this? Because like there's a lot of like underground stuff that you're just
Yeah.
like, how did they do this in the 80s when this
Yeah.
came out? I don't think there's any VFX. Not there's VFX. in it.
There's
VFX in it.
one shot that it's clear green screen and it's the worst shot in the whole movie. But other than that, I think most of it, if there is any like green screen or compositing in it, it's really well done.
I think they filmed on location for everything
Yeah.
that I can tell. A lot of it was practical, like you said, and that's what gives a lot of this movie its charm is the effects in this movie. Because I don't think if the effects were as good, it wouldn't be as good of a movie. Also, what gives it a little bit of charm, in my opinion, is the cast. Like, how do you feel about?
I think the cast is great and the characters are actually like pretty fun. Like I like Kevin Bacon a lot in this movie. I like how he's just playing this like misogynistic like redneck character.
Fuck you!
I like Fred Ward in it too as his like goofy friend who kind of like doesn't
Earl.
really seem to like him ever. But they have that relationship that like I feel like we have where we just like we're constantly shitting on each other, but it's like we've known each other so long that we're like still friends.
Good luck, shithead.
Don't worry about me, jerk off.
I like Chang a lot. I like him.
Yeah,
I like there's one scene in the first Tremors movie that's fucking hilarious where it's like they're going I think they're gonna like go kill some graboids or whatever. I think this is like right after they find out there's like giant worms going through the ground, and Chang goes up to Fred Ward and he's just like,
Hey, Earl, here's some Swiss cheese and some bullets. Thanks, Walter.
that's hilarious. That's fucking great.
it is. It is hilarious. And what's kind of funny is that the main character of this franchise is barely in this first movie. I would say Michael Gross is barely in this movie.
Yeah, he's not in this one as much as you would think.
for somebody who's the main character in this franchise.
And he's great too. I like Michael Gross.
Oh, his character is awesome in the first movie, at least. He honestly is the best. He's the only thing that carried this franchise and all.
I mean, literally.
Yeah, he carried it on his back, and he was the Robert Downey Jr. of the Tremors franchise.
Basically, yeah.
I don't know. I can't believe it. No tracks. No sign. No spore. I think after eating all those sheep, they'd have to take a dump someplace.
I love this first movie, and I was surprised when you liked it when I showed it to you, because I was like, I don't know if this is a movie Wade would like.
When did you first see this? Was this like a movie you saw as a kid growing up, or like? Because I know the first time I watched it was when you showed it to me.
Yeah, my dad was watching it on TV, and I just kind of sat down and watched it when I was like 11 or 12. And I was like, this is freaking awesome.
Fucking A. I couldn't imagine watching this as a kid.
Like, I was just like, this is awesome. There's people getting eaten and sucked in the ground.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a super simple story. Like the story in this is not complex.
Insanely simple.
It's just like, okay, it's a monster movie. That's what it is. But it felt like it was like they had a bigger budget than like Jaws, even though Jaws definitely had the bigger budget out of the two of them. Just because we see the monster way more than we see like Jaws in the Jaws movie.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily that we see it more. I think it's just you had competent people who knew how to film this thing and knew how to make it look good.
True.
And use creative ways and creative filmmaking in order to make this actually look good. Like the animatronics don't just look like shitty fucking animatronics. They look like a real worm.
And honestly, I think the design for the graboids look pretty cool in my opinion. Yeah. They got the like jaw that unhinges, and then they got the three tentacle things, which are just creepy.
It's terrifying.
The tongue things. I don't know who came up with that design, because I know it's not based off a real creature. But like that,
it's not. But it also looks like a creature that could possibly exist. Like the way it's designed, like it's got like the like thing on the front of its mouth that looks like if it existed, it would need that to like dig through the ground and everything. Like it looks like something that could exist.
The best kill is at the very end where the one goes off the cliff. That's awesome, man. And it just like explodes underneath of it. But like it's just one of those movies where it's like this small town of like 10, 15 people.
Perfection, Nevada.
Yeah, and it's just a small town just going up against these monster creatures. And it's
such. I love the fact that it's just in this small little like podunk town out in the middle of nowhere, where like none of this. If there weren't sequels, it's like this is just a little story that like no one in the rest of the world would ever like know about. It's just this small little thing. I love that.
Yeah, if it were real, it's not real, but if it were real, it's just like one of those things like people wouldn't believe this.
Yeah, nobody would believe this.
They're like, oh, we're just trying to get like people to come here so we can make money off of it. And this movie started a lot of tropes that I've realized for the rest of them, which obviously this is the first one. They're gonna do that. They always got the hot female chick that falls for the main guy. That's in every freaking movie in here, because it was Kevin Bacon's character and I don't know the chick's name that was in this, but they fall for each other at the end and they go off into the sunset or whatever. And that's a trope throughout all these movies. But the first one is really good, in my opinion.
First one is a legitimately, it's not even just like a fun, like, oh, well, it's good for a monster movie. It's a legitimately good movie.
It actually has suspense. And the whole time you're just like, who's going to die? Because you don't know.
That scene at night with those two people in the car.
Yeah.
That whole scene is like nothing but tension and it works.
Yeah. And it's just because you literally, I felt like through the whole movie, I'm just like anybody could die. Like I feel like Kevin Bacon could have died. I felt like at any point, no one was safe. Yeah, no one was safe. Whereas later on in the franchise, I didn't feel like that was true.
Later on in the franchise, everyone's just like invincible action heroes.
Everyone's invincible. But yeah, this movie's great. Is there anything else you want to mention about this movie?
I mean, there's not really much else. Like it's just a fucking solid ass movie.
It is. It's a solid action adventure movie.
Yeah. It's really fun.
It's satisfying. It fulfills all your needs. It's got death.
It's well made. Like it's not like a cheesy fucking like it's a well shot.
You would think with this movie being how low of a budget it was for the time and just being in the 80s, you'd think like, hey, this is gonna be like a cheesy movie. But it's not really. I don't even know how I would go about making a movie for $10 million like that. That seems like just such a high budget movie.
I don't know how I would go about making a movie about giant worms.
Yeah, because like there's a shot that I think is really cool that stuck with me for a long time. It's just a POV of the worm in the ground. Yeah, I'm just like
really cool. The Evil Dead shot.
Yeah, and I'm just like I feel like that's a simple shot. I have no idea how to go about it, but it's just such a cool shot to me.
Yeah.
Jim just flying through that dirt and just seeing the speed of
Yeah.
the worm in the ground. That's cool. This felt like Jurassic Park before Jurassic Park, like that kind of animatronic level kind of stuff.
Sort of, yeah.
I don't
I
know.
can see that.
I don't know if the people who worked on this worked on Jurassic Park animatronics.
I doubt that.
I doubt it, but I mean, this was 10 years before Jurassic Park. It was like 15 years before Jurassic Park. I think.
Yeah.
So
It might have
never know.
influenced Jurassic Park in some
Maybe.
kind of way.
I don't know. Jurassic Park to me has like top-notch animatronics type thing.
Yeah.
Like the scale and the size and the look. That's like peak level. So for me, and this is right up there with it. Especially after you said that there was a mix of everything going on. This is right there with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tremors 1, fantastic movie.
Great film.
People should watch it. Even if you just like an action adventure movie, this is the movie for you. I feel like.
Oh
Worth
yeah,
it.
definitely.
Worth
If you like movies that, and I like how the movie does have a sense of humor
Mhm.
without going overboard. It's not like movies do now where it's like we gotta have a joke every 15 seconds. It's like it has fun characters and they do have fun dialogue back and forth, but when it gets serious, it gets serious. Like
Mhm.
they know when to be humorous and when to like actually have tension and do everything. And the characters are just fun.
Yeah, almost every character in this is relatable or enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Tremors 1, great movie.
Fucking awesome.
Now we're gonna get into some of the bad
The,
stuff.
the sequels.
The sequels. But yeah, let's go into Tremors 2, Tremors Aftershocks. I think that's what
Tremors
it's called.
2. Tremors Aftershock.
I'm gonna be upfront and honest right now. It's not the best movie. It might be the worst movie in the franchise. Honestly, I don't know.
It's up there.
It's up there. Do
Do you want to hold on real quick? Do you want to take a guess at the tagline for the poster?
I have no idea.
The worms have turned.
Wow.
Wow.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
They have 2 returning cast members from the first one.
Yeah.
I think there's only 2. They bring back Fred Ward, which is kind of surprising that he came back for the second one. And they bring back Michael Gross. Is it Gross or Gross?
My name is Michael Gross.
Okay, Michael Gross. And Fred Ward does not seem like he wants to be there, at least for the
No,
first half.
he seems very bored.
Yeah, he's
a
very
majority
bored.
of this movie.
Go away.
They literally set him up as an ostrich farmer. Like that's his whole thing in this movie.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm an ostrich farmer. I don't want to do this anymore.
And he's also out of like him and Kevin Bacon, he's also like the least fun out of the two of them. It's like I would want Kevin Bacon to come back just because that character was fun.
He's more fun when he plays off Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, he's
That's what
the
makes him
straight
fun.
man to Kevin Bacon's like
Yeah.
goofball. Like you
What-
can't have him be the boring asshole.
But he's doing his straight man thing with Bert, who's a straight man himself. Like he's like,
Yeah.
I'm taking this seriously. This is a super simple story too. I don't think any of them have complex stories.
No,
This one-
the whole franchise is pretty simple.
Yeah. This one is just like, oh, there's graboids in a different area, and they hire these guys to come kill them, and they give them a certain amount of money per graboid they kill or something like that. And they come prepared this time. They have like RC cars with dynamite attached to them and stuff like that.
Is this
But-
the first one where the graboids evolve, or is it?
Yes, this is the first one.
Okay.
This is where that's why it's like it becomes a whole new ball game or whatever they say, and it's like because they're killing the graboids super easily because they know what they're going up against. And all of a sudden they catch one alive, which was like their big thing because they get like $1 million bonus for if one's alive. And they find one like washed up on like a rock or something, and they're like, oh, we can haul it back, but we need a bigger truck. So they call the guy with the bigger truck to come out, and they're waiting for it. And then the graboid just dies or whatever, and it becomes the Shriekers, the little like running feet one or whatever. That's the whole premise of this movie. It's like, oh, they're different. They evolved. They're in their next phase or whatever.
Which kind of defeats the whole purpose of the
Right.
title of the series. It's called Tremors because there were giant ground worms like underground,
right.
and now they're on land.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
now
like, it
they're
kind of defeats the purpose. But
now they're just
alright.
like little people with
Yeah.
that are blind but can see with heat vision. Anyways, there are some decent animatronics.
There's
in this.
some, yeah.
There's CG in this, and it looks
It's terrible.
terrible. Like it's
It's
so
awful.
bad. The rest of the cast doesn't matter. I don't even remember the other
No,
cast
they're
members.
infinitely less memorable than cast from the first movie,
Yeah.
other than Fred Ward and Michael Gross because
Yeah.
they were in the first movie.
There is the attractive chick that Fred Ward gets with at the end.
Yeah, and it's hilarious. I remember we watched Tremors 2 together, And they have early on. There's like a reference to like he's got one of those calendar like things on his like wall or whatever, and it's got like a lady on it.
Ooh. This October, 1974.
Yeah, she's there to remind me not to keep chasing after things I'm never gonna get.
And then it turns out this woman that he meets later on in Perfection, Nevada. I don't remember why she was there. She's like a neuroscientist or some bullshit. It happens to be her, and it's like, what are the fucking odds?
Right.
That happens? Like, that's stupid.
Yeah, it's it's a very big coincidence.
Yeah.
But I think the best part of this entire movie, in my opinion, is there's a shrieker like just standing there, and Bert's like, "I got this." Like he comes out, he's got this big ass sniper, and he like sets it up and he shoots the thing. He cuts it in half for one, the shrieker thing. But and they're like, "Oh yeah, we killed it. Whoa, whatever." They're like, "All right, let's go. Let's get to the car." And as they're walking, they realize he shot through like 8 buildings with his big ass sniper, and then he hit the car and it cut the fuel line in the car. I'm like, what are the odds that happened? That's a cool, like, I think that's a cool premise because that is a big gun and it probably would do that. But like the odds of your car being right behind this thing and cutting it is ridiculous.
Right, yeah.
But that's the best thing, and that's the only thing I remember from this movie is that.
Yeah, I don't really remember much from this movie. It's kind of just, it's not even like the worst thing in the world. It's just kind of like it's just kind of a bland like whatever movie. Yeah.
Because like you said, it's not even Tremors at this point. It's just like little gremlins running around, and they're not even as like powerful as the graboids because you can just shoot them with like a pistol and like they're dead. You can cut them with a knife and they're dead. Really weird that they went in that direction. But, all right, we gotta make it like scarier, I guess. With the
that's what you do in a sequel. I mean, you're supposed to like do something new, but that's an interesting like weird choice.
Yeah, it's not. That doesn't mean that you completely change the monster itself.
Yeah,
maybe do a variation like, oh, it's a stronger monster or something, but like it's not like, oh, this is a different thing. It's totally different. Yeah, not the same at all. But yeah, that's the only things I remember from Tremors 2 because Tremors 2 is really bad. This might be my least favorite one in the entire franchise. Honestly,
it's pretty bad.
It's between this or the third one.
I don't think this is my like the worst for me, but it's pretty close. It's up
for me. It's either this one or the third one. I don't know which one it is out of those two, but it's definitely one of those two for me personally. Let's move on to Tremors 3.
Tremors 3.
I don't even remember what it's called.
Back to Perfection. The food chain just grew another link.
Yeah, because this is the third evolution, the final evolution.
At this point, the ass blasters, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say at this point they're just like, this is stupid.
Fly right into my crosshairs, you fire-farting son of a bitch.
Watching this movie, because I watched the Tremors 3 by myself, I noticed an immediate like downgrade in quality, and I was like, what happened? And I looked at the rating. It's PG, whereas all the other movies are PG-13.
Is it really?
I could tell by the ass blasters that they were trying to make this a little bit more like kiddie and like family oriented, which is a little weird considering it's a franchise about horrific monsters that eat people. But Tremors 3 definitely, like once it starts, it has that like shitty TV movie quality to it where it's like, this is not like,
even though
I'm not in for a good time here.
Even though Tremors 2 and 3 are both straight to DVD, I do agree with you. One feels like it was straight to DVD, and the other one didn't. The other one felt like they were trying to at least make a sequel. It wasn't a good sequel, but they tried to make a sequel to it. What's funny, though, is that this one actually had a higher budget than the second one.
Really? Wow.
The second one had a $4 million budget. This one had a $6 million budget.
That money was wasted.
I don't know where that money went. Probably on booze and alcohol for
probably
parties and stuff. But yeah, I don't even remember this movie. So like, if you have any memory,
I vaguely remember it. I remember this one being really boring, and like towards the end, I just lost a lot of interest in it. And I was just like, all right, cool. Like it's more Tremors. Like there's ass blasters and Burt Gummer's back and he's got to save the day, and he's goofy and he's got to team up with these guys who don't believe him at first, but then it's like, oh, they see it and it's like, oh fuck, we got to take out these things. It's the same formula.
The thing that they try to do is like, oh, we got all three this time. There's graboids, shriekers, and ass blasters now, so it's a whole different thing because there's like a graboid that like can't like evolve for some reason, so they got all three of them there, and it's just like, okay, but like, who cares? The only interesting thing I remember from this is I think Is this the one where Bert gets eaten?
I think so. Yeah.
He gets eaten, and you're like, oh shit, he's dead. Like he's dead. They killed off Bert 3 movies in. He's dead. Nah, he didn't die. It was a fake out death.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets eaten in like a trash can or something, so he doesn't get. Like,
he's got
digested.
like a thing, like a barrel, like over him.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh yeah, he's dead. And he radios in like 2 minutes later. I'm not dead. I'm in the belly. And he like shoots or cuts his way out of it or something.
Yeah, that one of the guys gets a chainsaw and like cuts him out of it.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, okay. Which actually comes into play later in the movies, which is freaking weird.
It does, yeah. It does.
Like, I didn't think anything about that. I was just like, oh, okay. Like
it's very odd. They make it like a plot point.
Yeah, they make it a plot point later on in one of the movies. But I don't remember this movie at all. I don't remember what happened.
Yeah.
I don't remember the cast other than Michael Gross is in it.
It's very forgettable.
It is very forgettable. This one or the second one is the worst one.
I think this was worse than the second one. The second one at least has some like small redeeming aspects of it. Like it does still have some practical effects in it. It does have some returning cast members other than just fucking Michael Gross. It does like this 2 definitely feels more like an actual sequel to the first one than 3 does. 3 is just really boring and just uninteresting and not fun.
100%. I'd agree with that 100%. Even this one also feels like, I don't know if it does or not. Does this feel like they were going in on the goofiness, or were they trying to?
It felt like serious? they were. This one specifically felt like they were definitely leaning into the fact that like, hey, this is a bunch of nonsense. I mean, it shows with the ass blasters. They make fucking fart noises and shit.
Ass blast flambe.
Like I feel like 3 was kind of the first one to kind of establish what the next trilogy is going to be, because the rest of the sequels kind of lean in on the kind of goofy self-awareness a little bit more, whereas like 1 and 2, you know, 1 definitely has a sense of humor about itself, but it still takes a lot of it serious. A lot of the other sequels are kind of just like, hey, we know this is dumb bullshit. Like
2 definitely
is
feels
definitely
like,
where it started.
2 definitely feels like it was still trying to be serious compared to 3, as far as I remember. In your opinion, though, if you were given the reins to this movie, what would you do to try to make it better? like you had the plot. The plot was there. It was made for you, but like you could tweak it or whatever. Like, would you do anything that could have made this better in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have shot it on like a fucking potato. And made it look as terrible as it did. I would have at least attempted to make it look a little bit better. I probably wouldn't have made it PG. I would have maybe like upped some of the blood or some of the language.
What was up with that? Why did they make it PG?
Did
they think they could make more money off of it?
I think probably. I think it's more, you know, it's more family friendly. We're making a goofy monster movie. Oh, we could sell it at Blockbuster and more people could see it.
It's a straight to DVD thing. It doesn't matter what the rating is. I feel like it's not like
well, I mean, but you have to imagine this came out during like the Blockbuster era.
I guess Blockbusters had PG-13 stuff.
No, they did, but it's like, you know, families would go to Blockbuster and it's like they see PG-13. A lot of parents at that time were like, oh, PG-13, that's a little iffy. They see a PG movie, they're like, oh, this is fun for the whole family. I can get it for my kid and shut him up for 2 hours or whatever.
I couldn't imagine sitting down and watching this as a kid. I feel like I'd get bored watching this as a kid.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would get bored.
I'd just be like, what is happening? What is this? This is stupid. So you would up the PG to PG-13, not shoot on a potato. Anything else?
I'd maybe not go as self-aware as they did. I'd still have some humor in it, and I'd still kind of lean in on the fact that like, hey, this is a goofy monster movie. But when you do that, and this is a problem I've talked about in other movies, when you lean into the self-awareness of a movie, it takes out all of the tension and makes nothing in the movie matter. It
makes like no one feels like they're gonna die or anything like that.
Yeah, and like when you have a main character who's been in the last 3 movies get eaten by a worm, and then it turns out, well, he's not eaten and he's fucking alive. It takes out all the. It's like, sure, we've seen people die, but we know now that the main characters are untouchable and nothing's going to happen to them, and there's no real tension.
Especially
so, it's like if I killed Burt Gummer, if I got Burt Gummer eaten by a worm in my movie, he would have died.
He would be dead.
Yeah.
Even if they went the route of the fake death, they didn't even hold it for that long. It was
literally it was like 2 minutes. He's like, oh shit, he's dead, and then he gets a thing on his walkie-talkie.
Yeah. It's like, well, damn, if you're gonna do it, like, try to at least
give me like 10-15 minutes.
Right.
Like,
but no. It would have been cool if like he just walked out. Like they didn't even like help him out. Like he just later on in the movie he just shows up and he's like covered in blood or whatever and just been like, I got out of it. Like
that would have been a little bit more fun if they didn't like cut him out of the thing. If he, like, you think he got eaten by this thing, and then in the last act, you know, you have two characters remaining, and they're like they don't know how to figure out how to stop, you know, this ass blaster or this graboid or whatever, and then all of a sudden, like a bullet just fucking comes in, or like a bomb comes in or whatever, and they look over and it's fucking Burt Gummer and he's covered in like goo. And it's like, how the fuck did he get out of that? But that would add to the whole, like, oh, he's just a fucking badass. Like, that would be fun. And that would be kind of a fun entrance for that character. Like, that's how you would handle something like that. But they don't do that.
The only issue with that is that I could see people being like, well, now if he gets eaten, he's never truly dead because he got eaten before and he got out of it.
I mean, it's the same factor either way.
Yeah. You could always be like, he could always be like, yeah, I was in a barrel and I got out of it.
That's how you do a fake out death. You have to, like, make it kind of aware that, like, oh, we saw him in a barrel.
Yeah.
So, like, it's plausible that he made it out. But a lot of times when people do fake out deaths, it's just like, oh no, you would have died. Like, there's
like
no
Black
fucking way you would
Panther
have gotten
getting
out of
thrown
that.
off a cliff.
Yeah, it's like there's no fucking way you would still be alive. You would have died. Tease the barrel, show the barrel, and then at the end, he could come back and then be like, oh yeah, he did get. He wasn't a fucking barrel and digested, so like he could have made it out of that. Like that would be kind of a plausible thing.
Yeah. Plus, it just makes Burt just more of a badass that he got eaten, and he was like the only one to make it out after getting eaten. Type thing.
Even that would be a cool like re-entry for the character. Like in the last act, he comes back and he's like, "Fucking, I am a badass." You have to make the audience believe in that moment he died, because then when he comes back, they're gonna go, "Oh shit!"
And maybe that's why they didn't play on the fake out death that much. Like, look, this is a silly, stupid movie. Nobody's
they probably didn't care.
Nobody's gonna believe he's dead anyway, so we're just, whatever. But yeah, like I said, I don't remember any of the cast in this or whatever.
Yeah, moving on. They were all very forgetful.
Moving on to maybe the best sequel in the entire.
It's definitely, I would probably say this is the best sequel. One of the best sequels out of the bunch, but
Tremors 4.
Tremors 4, The Legend Begins.
What's the tagline for this one? Is there one?
There's not one on the poster.
What the heck? Why they?
I don't know.
They're like new trilogy.
Yeah, the 4 through 6 don't have taglines on their poster.
New trilogy, no taglines. This one, I don't even know what makes this one that good, honestly.
I think because I went back and rewatched a little bit of it after I finished 7. And I think it's just because it is low budget, it does still have that kind of like shot on a potato feel that the third one had. But I think it just has this charm to it where it seems like they're still kind of aware that this is a goofy like monster thing, but they tried to make the characters a little bit interesting, and then they tried to make you kind of invest a little bit in the characters. And it kind of seems like they're kind of just having fun making a movie. Like they're not taking it too seriously, but they're taking it seriously enough. And they're trying to make like a solid movie. Like they're not just like, oh, whatever, it's silly garbage. Like they're trying to make a movie. And there is some fun stuff. There is some legitimately fun moments and aspects, and some fun jokes, and like some fun like callbacks to other movies and stuff like that are actually like genuinely fun.
Do you if you had to guess the budget for a Tremors 4, what would you guess it would be?
Like 3 to 4 million.
It was $5 million.
Oh wow.
So it actually had a higher budget than 2, but lower than 3. But yeah, this one, I don't know if the setting of it being in the Old West that's just interesting setting to me. Like, oh, I would never think.
Yeah, that's what they should have done with a lot of these sequels, where it's like, because most of them were just imperfection. It's like, well, how are we dealing with graboids elsewhere? Like they're nowhere else but perfection. And the later sequels kind of start to kind of do that.
Yeah.
But for the first like 3 or 4 movies, it's like, oh, we're just in perfection. And like these things are ancient things. Like, how long have they been around? Like, when did this whole thing start? Like, this is kind of an interesting, if we are going to delve into the lore, this is kind of an interesting idea to set it in the Old West.
And I think at one point they said it was during the Precambrian era or something, which is like before the dinosaurs. So these things have been around for a while. So you could have done anything. Like, oh yeah, like graboids during the Civil War or something like that, or some during like World War II.
If Tremors 8 isn't in the Civil War, I'm gonna be pissed.
But like the setting of it being like the Old West is super interesting to me.
It is, and I think that also kind of plays into the low budgetness a little bit, because you can kind of get away with a little bit more having it set in the Old West, because it can look a little like cheaper and a little bit older and a little bit more grimy because it's the Old West.
And the biggest joke in this is, of course, Michael Gross does come back. He's not playing Burt this time. He's playing like his grandfather.
Yeah, he's playing Harem Gummer.
Yeah, or something like that. But the whole joke in this is that he has never fired a gun or something.
Yeah, he's like a big pussy.
You said to pick something I was comfortable with.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, that's interesting. That we're
that's fun. They're actually like doing something a little different. That's fun.
They're not letting Michael Gross just play the same character over again. He's kind of got some range he can try to work with. I don't remember the rest of the cast in this. Were there anybody notable that you remember?
I mean, I remember certain characters. I don't really remember any of their names. I remember, was it Blackhand Kelly or whatever?
Yeah.
Mostly just because he's played by Billy Drago,
Yeah.
who was in Pale Rider and Briscoe County Jr. So he's got a history with westerns.
And who might you be, sir?
Kelly.
Black Hand Kelly?
But he's actually really fun in the movie. 'Cause he's playing that kind of like generic, like badass, like archetype, like I'm gonna come in and save the day, and blah, blah, but then he gets eaten.
Yeah, he gets
by
eaten.
a graboid, and they're just like, "Fuck, what do we do?"
He gets eaten kind of stupid too. He gets like sucked out a window or something like that.
Yeah.
When he dies. But yeah, 4 is a lot of fun compared to 3. Like, it's still not a good movie. 4
It's not great, and it's nowhere near
The
the
first one.
amazingness of Tremors 1. But it does have a bit of a charm to it. It's trying, like, and I think that's why it's a little bit more entertaining. Is that they didn't just go in and go, oh fuck it, whatever. Like they're trying. They were trying to make a good movie.
Yeah, it was just really interesting all the stuff they did with it. It did feel like the first one a little bit with they were just trapped in a house for like half the movie. It felt
There's a lot of that, yeah.
And that was a lot of the first one. They were just trapped in their little town or whatever. So, and I feel like that was part of the budget too. Like, all right, we can only make like one set,
Probably. Yeah.
so we're gonna be stuck in this house. Which you can do interesting things with that. So, and they did. They tried. I don't remember how they like killed the graboid because it was just graboids.
They had the big they had
Gatling gun?
Harem Gummer come out with the big cannon,
Yeah, that's what it was. I remember that now.
which was hilarious.
Yeah, because that was his whole like arc. It was
Yeah,
like,
and he comes out with the big fucking gun.
I got this big ass gun and I'm a badass now. But yeah, they were smart with this one. They were like, all right, we're going back to basics. Only graboids, no shriekers.
And
or
I think
bad
I don't remember 4 having any like CG. I think most of the time you see the graboids, it is practical.
A lot of the times, you don't even see the graboids. They use the little tongue things.
Yeah,
which
that
are
probably
like
saved on
puppets.
some of the budget too.
Which were just puppets that they use. But I think you do get one shot or something near the end where it's like the full graboid or whatever. Which I'm sure,
probably.
Which I'm sure was a puppet or a miniature. I'm sure they didn't go full animatronic and make a full one. I don't remember any CG in this though. Like, I think I agree with you with that. There may have been some, but I just didn't notice it. This one's just a more interesting movie than the other 2 sequels, and that makes it just far more entertaining.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing, like you said before, the worst thing you can do with movies is make a boring movie.
Yeah.
At least if it's bad, you can make it fun bad or whatever. And I think they knew what they were doing with this. They're like, yeah, we can make a fun bad movie. But yeah, 4 was definitely our favorite. We loved watching that one together.
That one was a fun one to watch together. We were
just
lot of fun.
poking fun at it and all that stuff. Like, oh yeah, that would never happen and blah. But they're like, oh yeah, it's funny. But yeah. I actually remember a lot of Tremors 5, surprisingly, for some reason.
I remember enough.
Enough of Tremors 5. I think this one's Bloodlines, right?
Bloodlines, as Jamie Kennedy would say in the movie, in a really weird way.
Yeah, it's funny to me that Jamie Kennedy is in this. It's really
it's so weird. It's
freaking
bizarre.
weird.
His character's so fucking annoying.
And they pulled the Star Wars thing with this. He's Bert's kid.
Yeah,
it's out of nowhere.
It's like, all right, cool.
I think the opening in this is actually kind of fun.
Where he's like a YouTube.
Yeah, he's like a YouTube
like,
star.
that is fun, and he's like a crazy like survival nut, and he's like, hey, you want to learn about graboids?
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's still weird to me at like this point in the franchise that like people still don't know what graboids are. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like
it's got that.
gotten out.
It's got that fucking thing that like the Transformers movies do, where it's like just forget about the last movie. Like it doesn't matter. Like you should know that there's Transformers running around. Like after the first movie with the battle in New York, it's like the same thing here. It's like no one has seen these fucking things pop up anywhere else.
Right. Like it's just one of those things. It's just like I feel like even if like it was contained to this little area, somebody would just be like, "There's giant worms."
It's bound to happen somewhere else in the world.
Right. Or somebody that lived through it would just tell somebody, be like, there's giant worms in New Mexico. This takes place in like a jungle. I think that's what I remember.
Yeah, it's like kind of a more jungle environment.
Which is like neat, cool. We got a different scenario,
A
different.
little interesting.
And it's the same plot as the second one, as far as I remember. Like, oh yeah, we got graboids. It's called Bert, and Bert comes.
I mean, that's pretty much all the sequels. It's like, hey, there's some fucking giant worms. Who are we gonna call? Bert Gummer. Like, it's the same. Every movie is that. Every sequel is that.
That should be the trailer for the 8. Hey, we got some graboids. Who are we gonna call? And then some
Bert
guy,
Gummer.
he just says it so seriously.
Bert Gummer.
This one leans heavily into the CG, as far as I remember. Like, this was the first one they were like, okay, we're not doing like any.
I think
Practical
5 is the first one where it's like all CG.
I think it is.
I don't think they do
there's
any.
There
practical.
maybe the tongues. There may have been practical with the tongues and stuff. Yeah, this movie wasn't like memorable at all.
No.
It's better than 2 and 3, only because I like the dynamic duo of Bert and his kid. They're kind of fun poking at each other.
I like having a character that can tell Jamie Kennedy to shut the fuck up. I like that a lot, and he does that a lot in Tremors 6, which is really fun.
I remember like they killed the graboid by like getting it to jump out of the ground at the end, and then just like shocked it to death or something. Like they like that's literally what they did. I'm like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
It doesn't.
But
No.
This was the last one where I was like giving a shit. Like at this point, I was like, I'm done after this. Like,
Yeah.
that's why.
At this point, it's a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, this is why we didn't watch 6 and 7 together. We were just like, well, I don't think 7 was out when we watched 5.
No.
I don't know how the cult was like still like, all right, let's keep making more after 5.
I don't know. I feel like this franchise is kind of just like limping out. Like there's 7 of these fucking things, and I really don't think the Tremors following is that big.
No,
That
it's not.
I mean,
obviously,
they're not like super expensive movies to make, but just even putting a little bit of time and effort into this, I don't see how a studio can go, oh, let's put some money into this. Like it's weird because it's not making money.
No, it's obvious. I mean, at least to 5, it's not making money. They actually didn't release how much box office the others had made.
Oh wow. Okay.
So 2, 3, and 4 doesn't have a box office. I think only 1, 5, and 7 are the only ones that have a box office. I don't know why 6 doesn't either.
6 was on Netflix for a long time, so it probably did okay.
The first 3 were on Netflix for a long time.
Were they?
Yeah, that's how I watched the other 2, because I was like, oh, I remember Tremors. I'm going to watch 2 and 3. And I watched them, and they're like, oh, this is not good.
That was a big mistake.
Yeah, that was a big mistake. I didn't know at the time. I was like, oh, let's just watch this. This can't be that bad. Yeah, this one just isn't interesting because they just do the same thing. And as far as I remember, there's no shriekers or ass blasters in this. So they're just, again, just like, all right, we're just going back to the Tremors
Yeah, it's
thing.
pretty much just graboids again.
It makes sense because like that was your calling card in the beginning anyways, but like they don't care. Like it's just like, all right, well, it's just the worms. It's like, all right, but I thought you were on a deadline. Like at some point I thought the worms evolved. But no, they don't do that in this, apparently. Doesn't Jamie Kennedy try to fall in love with somebody in this movie?
Yeah, there's like a some islander that he tries to bang or whatever.
Yeah. And he does that in this one and the next
Yeah.
movie. It's like, calm down, Jamie. Calm down.
Jesus Christ. Jamie Kennedy is not a ladies' man. He never has been and he never will.
He looks like a schlub that you would find outside of a McDonald's. The CG in it wasn't that bad though, as far as I can
compared
remember.
to some of the other ones. It's not like
Tremors 2
disgusting.
is the worst CG I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This one at least like it feels like okay, like yeah, I can believe there might be a giant worm right there.
Yeah, it's more modern than some of the other sequels.
Yeah.
It's like the first modern one where you can kind of believe. It's like, it's not great, but it's serviceable.
Serviceable, yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about 5 before we go?
Not really. Fucking move on from 5.
Tremors 6.
Tremors, A Cold Day in Hell.
Cold Day in Hell, which is an amazing title, by the way.
That's a fucking badass title.
It's a badass title.
I'm surprised that wasn't like a line that like Bert Gummer would say. That sounds like something he would say.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I thought for a second maybe he did, but now you say it, no, I don't think he did.
Yeah, no one ever said that.
They actually put Bert Gummer out of commission in this movie, which was kind of surprising.
Yeah, for like the third act, he's kind of down for the count.
Down for the count. He's got a tapeworm.
He's in a fucking hospital gown for most of the movie.
But yeah, dude, I remember going into this, I was like, you know, this seems like a movie. Like they tried to make a movie with this one.
It started off where I was like, okay, it seems like they're trying again. Like they're not trying to make utter trash. Like they're at least somewhat giving a shit.
This one is like in the Arctic, but not really, because like they're like, oh yeah, there's a heat wave, so it's not really the Arctic. So, well,
yeah, it's in the Arctic, but like they cheated and like Oh, this is the heat wave. Oh, cool. It's like, no, just put in the fucking Arctic. Like, that's an interesting setting. That's a new setting. We haven't
Right.
seen. Like, just do that. But no, it's got to be fucking hot.
It's hot. It's hot in the Arctic.
All right,
apparently.
whatever. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
What pissed me off with this movie, all right, like this is because since I just watched this, I'm sure other ones pissed me off in some other ways, but this one I remember when they first are flying in the art. Well, again, the storyline's the same for people, just if they're curious.
Literally the same.
Graboids, call Bert. That's the whole story.
Who are we gonna call him? Bergummer.
Bergummer. As they're flying in to the Arctic place, like an ass blaster shows up. And like, it's like, oh, well, what are we gonna do? And they like they mow it down or whatever. That's it. There's no other mention of Shrieker or ass blasters.
Yeah, there's that one winged one.
And
This one's all just like worms, right?
Yeah.
It's all just graboids.
I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, why did we have that? Is it just so that the plane can stop working? Is that the only reason?
Probably, yeah.
You could have just made
plot
it to where it
device.
just stopped working. Like, oh yeah, the plane ain't working. Or have a graboid nick it or something. I don't know. But why do you need to put the ass blaster in there and then not touch on it ever again?
I have no fucking idea. They needed it's a plot device. They needed something to stop the plane.
I guess.
Yeah.
Still, it's weird. It's also weird to me that Jamie Kennedy is in this one. I don't understand why he's in this one.
I mean, he's his son. He came back.
But why? He didn't come back
He
for
needed
7.
work.
He didn't come back for 7.
He didn't need work anymore.
No, so I need work. And then they're like, "Oh, you want to do 7?" No, I don't need to work.
No, not really. I'm good.
This one, the romance story makes no sense to me.
Makes no fucking sense. He literally like they have one like line of dialogue where he's like, "Hey, you like flirting with me or whatever?" And she's like, "Oh, maybe." And she's like, "That's their connection." Like, really?
No, it wasn't even that because she goes, "Are you flirting?" And then he goes, "Yeah." And then she goes, "Well, it'll never happen." And I'm like, "Okay, so that's it. The romance is dead."
Yeah. That's how it's. Yeah, that's how.
And then later on, it's just like, "Oh yeah, I like you." It's like, what? Wait, whoa, wow. Nothing. There was no chemistry between you two at all. You didn't even like talk the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Except for the one thing where she was like getting ready to get eaten. He's like, "Take off your pants."
And she's like, "I'm not wearing underwear for some
Like,
reason."
why? I feel like wearing jeans with no underwear would hurt.
Yeah, you chafe like a motherfucker.
Yeah, that would hurt. But this movie kind of just pissed me off. Honestly, I was just like, every 5 minutes, I was like, why? Like the mechanic guy who like made the electric fence underground.
Are you talking about not Chris Pratt?
Yeah, that guy. He pissed me off because the whole time he was just like, doing the whole like,
Way over the top.
Yeah,
I was like, to be that fucking over the top.
I was like, dude, you're in Tremors 5 right now, right? Or no, 6. You're in Tremors 6, not even 5. Tremors 6. Like, you definitely got casted because you were the only one who showed up. Like, that's why you got casted.
Oh, for sure. I bet most of the cast is probably like friends of the director.
I think that was a cool idea. Like, oh yeah, let's make an electric fence underground. Like, that's a cool idea. I like that idea. But that's the only good idea they had. They caught one alive, which made no goddamn sense to me, in my opinion.
Well, because those Dorpa people or whatever wanted it for like bioweapons.
No, they needed it for Bert because they needed antibodies or whatever. That's why.
Well, that too, but those Dorpa people wanted it.
But like
they made a deal with Jamie Kennedy.
The way they caught it made no sense to me. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna put a hook on a plane. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And like that was a cool effect. I guess it was practical. It had to have been practical. Where
when it was in the thing and it was like opened up, like that was a real thing.
And Jamie Kennedy like crawled in its mouth or whatever. Like, yeah, that was a cool effect.
And he had a horrible joke when he came out of it.
What do you say? Oh,
he's like, "Oh, thank God it's not in the prostate."
Yeah.
And then it just held on him for like a couple seconds, and I was like, "Well, okay, cut, like
cut, director, cut." I don't know why Bert was out of commission for most of this movie. Did he just not want to be in this movie?
Michael Gross was old, and he was probably like, "Look, I can't like do this anymore.
I'm running out of time, and I've spent my entire life on the set of Tremors."
Yeah. We see his ass at one point, though.
Yeah.
His naked old man ass.
I don't know why when people are in gowns, the director's like, we got to show their ass. Like, we got to.
Because it's funny.
Is it, though? Like, I don't think seeing people's butts is that funny.
I think filmmakers think it's funny.
Like, it's funny when I saw Shaq's ass because Shaq has a weird ass. Dude, this movie just made me mad. What do you think about this movie?
I mean, this one definitely wasn't as bad as some of the other ones. It's not good still. And I did notice that, like, when they're in the Arctic, they clearly just shot in the desert and they added the snow later, and then they just like they just like brightened everything up to make it look white, which it's like I that's understandable, I get it, but there was no snow on anybody's clothes or anything.
Just don't make it in the Arctic. the plot because
Yeah.
it's not necessary for them to be in the Arctic.
Yeah, the
Nothing
Arctic
changed.
setting was interesting, but it didn't need to be set in the Arctic.
They don't do anything
They
with
didn't.
it.
They didn't do anything with it. It was just kind of a whatever movie. It was a
Yeah.
whatever action movie. There was some, fun interactions with Burt and Jamie Kennedy, but I don't think sitting through an hour and 40-minute movie was really worth
Oh,
a
I
couple
forgot
of
to
fun
mention.
interactions.
Forgot to mention that Kevin Bacon's kid is in this movie, which is weird. She just is here.
The character's kid.
Yeah, and it's just like okay, and she's got the same name. She's like, call me Val. I'm like, okay,
It's like, all right,
weird.
that's
It's
how
also-
that's how they connected to the first one. All right, cool.
What a coincidence that you just happened to be here. Is there anything else you want to mention about 6? Because like,
I mean, not really.
it's bad.
It's
If anybody wants to
bad.
know, it's really bad. It's definitely not the worst. Definitely not the best, but it's bad.
No, this one's 6 to me, especially with 5 and 6 kind of blend in for me together, because they're both just kind of bland. Like, hey, there's giant worms, we got to stop them, and that's it. There's nothing else really interesting about them. There's not really interesting characters in them. It's kind of just, hey, we got to fight these big worms. Cool.
Yeah, there's not.
That's it. And it's not even super fun. They're not even
No.
super clever with how they do that, because you would think with these Tremors movies, they would be like Saw movies, where it's like, all right, yeah, Saw 15 is we don't need 15 of these movies, but we're still getting creative traps and creative deaths and stuff like that. Tremors, it's like, oh, how's this guy gonna die? He's gonna get fucking eaten.
He's gonna
It's
suck
always
through the
the
ground.
same thing. Yeah, he's gonna get sucked in from the ground. It's always the same stuff.
Yeah, they don't do anything different, which is why I think 4 stands out the most because it was different.
Four was a little different.
Going on to the Tremors 7.
Tremors Shrieker Island. I have this on Blu-ray.
Island. Why did they make a Blu-ray of this? Why did they let you buy it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, they have Blu-rays of all the other ones.
Yeah,
They're
but
all on Blu-ray.
this one came out in 2020 for people who don't know.
This came out last year.
This is a recent
fucking
movie. This is a new movie. It's not very good, but it's better than 6.
I'd say out of all of the sequels, this one would be right under 4 for me. I think this is definitely one of the better sequels. Not necessarily in terms of story, because story-wise, it is pretty much just his fucking giant worms and we gotta kill them. I noticed a drastic improvement in quality over 5 and 6. Cinematography alone, it's not amazing cinematography, but at least it seemed like they had someone on board who understood shot composition and understood what makes a shot look good. Because there were some shots, especially towards the end, where I was like, that's actually a solid shot. It looks pretty good. And I liked John Heater in it. I thought he was kind of fun. He referenced Evil Dead at one point, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, freaking Napoleon Dynamite's in this. When I saw him show up, I was like, is that Napoleon Dynamite? And I was like, oh shit, it is. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
He was fun in it. I enjoyed him.
Yeah.
And I liked Michael Gross in this too.
Kind of like the whole subplot of oh yeah, we got hunters trying to hunt.
That was
these-
kind of interesting. It's we
Yeah.
got hunters, and one of them was bio engineering
yeah.
the graboids and stuff to make the hunt better and to get more people to come.
This
That's
seems
kind of
like-
interesting.
This seems like the sequel that should have been the second one. All right, we're making bigger, badder
Yeah.
graboids type.
And I liked Richard Brake as the villain.
Yeah.
Because he was hamming it up, but he was
Oh,
so
yeah.
much fun. He was having
100%,
a great time.
Yeah, this one's definitely better than 6. And like you said, there is that quality jump that you can tell in this movie. At least I felt like there was. We had to have a character that was somehow connected to everybody. And there's this girl here who just happens to be the mom of Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah, this character we've never seen
Yeah.
in any of the other movies, but hey, she's here, and it's Burt Gummer's, I guess, ex-wife
Yeah,
and Jamie Kennedy's mom.
and that's it. They don't do anything with that.
And it's all right, cool.
I do like how they introduced Michael Gross in this one. He's like
he's like a crazy. He
Yeah.
looked like, the moment I saw him, he looked like what Randy Quaid looks like nowadays.
Not this time. I'm retired.
I was gonna say Tom Hanks in Castaway, but
He looks like that too.
yeah, he looks like that. And dude, when he showed up, I was like, dang, he's old.
He's very old.
He's really old. And then when he shaved everything off, I was like, oh, he doesn't look that old anymore.
Yeah, that beard definitely made him look.
Yeah,
a
that
lot worse.
beard made him look so old. He just shows up and he's got a spear and all that. And I'm like, dang.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck is Burt Gummer doing on this island? Did they explain why he was on this island?
He just kind of said he wanted to get away from it. He was like, the people keep asking me about graboids, and he's like, I'm tired of it.
okay.
That's what he said.
Cool, I guess.
That's why he said when Napoleon Dynamite showed up, he was like, it's always about graboids. They always find me. Like, that's what he said.
Yeah, because you're the only one who seems to know how to stop these fucking things.
Apparently, when everybody's just like, stick a dynamite.
Yeah, it's always the same solution. Blow it up.
Right.
And what made me laugh was there's a point where John Heater finds some dynamite and he's like, why don't we just blow it up? And the Bert's like, that's not gonna work. And I'm like, what the fuck?
That's what we've done for 6 goddamn movies.
We've just blown it up.
And then I think they just
like, all right,
blow it up later on in the movie. So it's just like,
yeah, they just end up blowing it up. So it's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, this one is called Shrieker Island, but they don't do much with the Shriekers. Like, they're like, oh yeah, there's graboids and Shriekers. There's no ass blasters.
I will say though, there's a couple of actual like legitimate like horror stuff in this.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily scary. Like
But
it
they
wasn't like,
tried.
oh shit. But it's like the way it's shot, like that shot of those two guys like on the boat, like when they're coming off, and then it like pans over, you just see like one of them behind them,
Yeah.
and it's like out of focus and stuff. Like that's actually like that's a solid scene, and like the tension and like him getting dragged away, and you never really see the monster, but he's getting pulled away, and you just hear screaming and whatever. Like they tried, like they were actually trying to make like somewhat of a legit horror monster movie, and I was like, that's kind of fun.
It feels like somebody on set was just like, let's do this, and it might be better. And the director was like, yeah, because this is the same director as the 6th one, I'm pretty sure. So
It's the same director as 6 and 5.
So yeah, I don't know what changed in this one. Maybe they were like, oh, this is the last one, and he's like, all right, I gotta go all out on this one.
I'm gonna go, this is my masterpiece.
this is gonna be the best Tremors movie. And then
And I do think the location they picked looked gorgeous.
And the island or whatever.
There's a lot of shots where it's just of the island, and I'm like, that's a gorgeous fucking island.
There's a lot of shots where it's just them like just on the boat and they're just going to the island. I'm like, dang, it's a cool shot. Michael Gross.
They pulled in Adam Sandler where they're like, how can I get paid to vacation?
Yeah. That's what I literally thought that when I was watching this movie.
That's what they did.
But there was a shot of Michael Gross just like on the end of the boat, just like
yeah,
hands on his hips. I'm like, he's a cool guy. Cool guy Michael Gross here, because he didn't really do much in this movie. He just yelled at people and just be like, no, you don't get it.
Yeah, most of the time it was just him yelling at everybody else.
There was a cool scene where he was in the cave and he just flamethrowered all the freaking Shriekers. That was pretty cool. The end of this movie was I was surprised.
The end of the movie, I was surprised too. It's way too serious for this.
Oh yeah,
for this
100%.
Franchise and this movie. But I was actually surprised. Yeah, I was shocked.
I'm gonna admit, I was like, dang, Bert's dead. Yeah. I was like, dang.
And it feels real. Like I don't think Michael Gross is. I don't think they're gonna like cheeseball it and be like, oh, I actually like punched my way out of its stomach on like right before it fucking blew up, and like I'm back and I'm alive. Like I think he's dead.
No, yeah, I think he's dead. And I sat there for a second when like they were doing the whole grave scene. I was like, dang, I just watched 7 movies with this guy and he's dead. Like, I do feel a little bad that he's dead.
And Michael Gross was the best part of all these.
He was. He carried every movie.
Yeah, he was always fun. He was always hamming it up, having a good time. He never felt, and that is something that I will say about the sequels, that Michael Gross never felt like he was just hamming it up and phoning it in. It always felt like he genuinely like gave a shit and just came back and was having fun and was just like, hey, I'll do this. You want to cover me in goo? Fucking hey, let's go.
Do you think he was just kind of like, you know what, this is my franchise. Like, even if it's not good, this is my franchise. I'm going to just run with it.
Yeah, probably.
Do you think he wanted to die in the 7th one, or do you think they wrote that in?
I mean, he might have had something where he's like, look, I'm getting a little old. Like, I don't mind doing these movies, but I'm getting a little, I don't know how long how much longer I have. So I might, like, we may need to end it sometime soon. So probably best if I died.
What's funny though is that in an interview, he said he was like, never rule out I could return in a prequel. You never know.
Ah, fuck off.
So
I mean, I guess he could. We could see Harem Gummer again.
I guess, yeah. I think Universal is like, we should stop making these movies. Like, I think they're kind of done.
Probably, yeah. I think, because I haven't heard any news about Tremors 8 or anything, other than maybe possibly just doing a full-on reboot. I think if we do see another Tremors movie, I don't think it'll be like a sequel. I think it'll be like a full big budget, like studio reboot of the whole thing. And maybe we get Kevin Bacon comes back as just like a reference to the first one, and maybe Michael Gross is in it just as like a callback. Like I don't think it's gonna be like Tremors 8.
I don't think there will be a Tremors 8. I think I agree with you. There'll be a reboot, or they might eventually pick up the show, but I don't know what you do in a show about giant worms.
I have no fucking idea.
Tremors 7, I was surprised by how much I was like kind of into Tremors 7.
Yeah, I was into a lot of it actually.
Yeah, I was surprised, especially after watching so many of the other ones. I was like, this one's not going to be like anything. I felt like, but no, you were right though. It was better than 6.
Yeah,
better than 6. And I feel like they did a good send off for Burt. Old Burt Gummer.
Would you out of all the sequels, would you say any of them are like actually like good movies?
No.
Or like even like the good ones are like good because they're like bad?
The good ones are only good because they're different from the other sequels.
Okay.
That's the only reason I find them good. Like 4 is different because it's in the Old West or whatever, and 7's just different because it just has a different feeling to the movie. Like, oh yeah, like we got these bad hunting people, and we got, you know, we're in the island and all that, and we got Napoleon Dynamite here. Like, it felt different. Just felt different. But the other ones, like 2, 3, 5, 6, 2, 3, 5, and 6, all feel like the same movie.
They pretty much are.
None of them are good, I would say, except for 1. 1 is really good. None of the other ones are good. How do you feel about that? Would you agree with me?
I mean, to a certain extent, like I would look at 4. Like I really enjoy 4, but I don't know if I'd necessarily classify it as like a good movie. I'd probably call it like a fun B movie or something.
Yeah, it's a fun to watch movie, but it's not a good movie.
Yeah. I would put it up there with like Space Raiders or like The Room or something, where like it's entertaining and it's fun and you can watch it, but it's not necessarily like a great film. 7, probably the same thing. It's not as fun as like 4 is, and from a technical point of view, I think it's better than any of the sequels.
Oh yeah.
Just because it actually seems like there was some competence in how it was shot and how it was, you know, made. But Tremors 7 does have some fun to it.
I think what makes it fun is just how much everybody's hamming it up. Like that's what makes it fun too.
That's pretty fun.
Because like again, this one felt like they went silly with it, but they also had a little bit of serious to it. Kind of like how the first one did. Like it was like, oh yeah, like we got the fun upbeat moments, but we also got some serious moments.
Yeah,
people die and stuff. It wasn't as serious in the 7th one, but it was still there. It felt like it was there. Yeah, if I had to like rank these, I feel
like it's pretty like ranking the best ones are probably pretty easy.
I would definitely go 1. I would go 1, 4, 7.
That's exactly what I was gonna say
for the top 3. But like after that,
that's where it gets hard.
It's hard. I want to say 6, 5, 3, 2.
I'd say like 1, 4, 7, then maybe 6, 5, 2, 3.
It makes sense. I think 2 and 3 are on the same level for me of bad. Do you think this franchise deserves 7 movies?
No, not at all.
How many would you have gone? 3?
Me personally, just the type of person I am, I would have just done 1 and just fucking left it alone.
Okay, yeah.
But if we had to get more, I'd say 3 max.
Trilogy, and then
I'd say like I could see a sequel. I could see like a follow up to it being pretty good. And then maybe the 3rd one, you're kind of like on its last leg, like it's all right, but it kind of needs to stop. 3 would be max. 3 for me is max for anything.
But 7, nah,
we don't need 6 sequels.
There's more movies in this than there are in the Lord of the Rings franchise. I would say 90% of the population doesn't even. 95% of the population doesn't even know 2 through 7 exists.
No, I remember I was watching 3, back when I still lived in the cabin with my mom. And she came in and she was like, what the fuck are you watching? And I was like, oh, I'm watching Tremors 3. And she's like, they made 3 of those fucking movies? I was like, they made like 6 of them. And she was like, God damn. And she walked out. Because I think she has seen the first movie.
A lot of people have seen the first one.
Yeah,
but I don't think a lot of people know that there's even a sequel, let alone
probably
6 sequels to it.
Which I envy those people.
Like my dad, who was the one who showed me the first one. I don't know if he knows that there's a second, third.
You should like sit him down and just have a Tremors marathon.
Sit him down like Dad, we need to talk. He's like, what?
There's 6 Tremors sequels.
he's probably like, get out of here. Like,
get the fuck out of here.
I thought that was something serious. So yeah, that's been our Tremors review. Basically, all of them are shit, except for the first one. Quick summary right there.
4's fun.
There's some fun ones in there. They're not good movies, but there's some fun ones.
It's fun.